What's up, everyone? This is the Replayer Podcast, a video game podcast where we talk about video games and the YouTube show Retro Replay. I'm your host this week, Dan Morris, and joining me today is Greg Bergner.
Hello, everybody.
And join me in welcoming back my co-host, Pagan from Manchester Comic Con. Hi, Pagan.
Hey, hello.
So, how was MCM?
Oh, unreal. Completely unreal. And I really do mean it. It was just the most phenomenal weekend. I didn't get to go the 2 days. I only got to go on Sunday. But I met everybody on Sunday. I met some of the best replayers there, and it was just really lovely. It was a lovely experience to have Discord or people that we would know from the live chats on Retro Replay YouTube channel that were now in front of you and saying stuff
Physically,
to your
actually
face.
present there.
Yeah, it was really surreal.
That's awesome. And you got to see and meet Troy and Nolan while you were there?
I did. It was a pretty great experience. I have met them before. I met Troy and Nolan 2 years ago in Manchester. No, in sorry, MCM Dublin Comic Con, 2017. So I got to meet them both there, and each of them spent each giving me the best acting advice and performance advice ever. So I was so thrilled to get to meet them again this year. So I met Troy earlier in Dublin Comic Con in Ireland, and unfortunately Nolan had to cancel because he got a gig, and then Manchester Comic Con was coming up, and I just made the whimsical decision to just go over to Manchester and see Retro Replay live because we didn't get to see it in Dublin. So we did. So I was like, oh fuck it, I'll just go over and fly over to Manchester and see what Retro Replay Live is actually like, and it was awesome.
I can imagine.
Lucky
Yeah, it
you.
was really cool.
Or
Lucky
Greg and me
me.
had to stay back here and not go and not experience the
guys,
joy.
next year.
Well, to be fair, I did get serenaded by Nolan over the phone.
You did.
It's true. That's
Yeah.
true. It was kind of nice that way because obviously I couldn't go for the 2 days, but having Janine and Mars actually live chatted or voice chatted over to us was so special as well. So shout out to those two guys. They're awesome for doing that.
Yeah, they provided the rest of us on the Discord the ability to listen in as they were in the line and talking to Troy and Nolan.
It
Yeah.
was so sweet, and you could see them properly interact with the Discord, and it's really nice. It was such a nice experience, and it was cool to be a part of the Saturday anyway, even if it was through the voice chat, which was sick.
And you can tell just how appreciative and aware of the fan community that Troy and Nolan have, because they were immediately like, oh, this is the Discord fan group that we know and love. Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And it's kind of nice, if anybody wants to see those videos of them interacting with the Discord or of them getting gifts from Discorders, that video is being put up on the Kessie Bear YouTube channel, and it's the Replayer Meetup Part 1, and Part 2 is shortly to follow. So feel free to have a look at that. That'll have a whole bunch of images and videos of Troy and Nolan meeting with Retro Replay fans.
Awesome. And then also we have you doing a couple of special episodes of the Replayer Podcast where you sit down and talk with a couple of the replayers that went there and just hash out some of your experiences and everything that you guys got to do and see. So we'll give a shout out to that at the end of this episode.
Definitely. And it was really nice to get I just want to shout them all out and thank you so much for all being on the podcast with me. We had, as Dan said, a special episode, part 1 and part 2. And we had God, everybody. We had Janine, Kat R, Nix, Wendy, Mars, Panda, Shan, and Kessie, and they all joined me to have kind of just a bit of a chit chat and a chin wag about what happened over the weekend. And like you said, Dan, that'll be available on our YouTube channel very shortly. So the Replayer Podcast is on YouTube, and those special episodes will be available as, I guess, audio clips or something like that from a podcast, a special episode of the podcast. They'll be available on our YouTube channel shortly.
Fantastic.
And, heck yeah.
I was also going to mention too that now that we got Pagan back from missing a episode last week, we normally alternate turns hosting the show and responsibilities. So any of those listeners out there that are sick of hearing me run the show, we'll be sure to get Pagan back in the driver's seat, and you can stop listening to my dumb voice.
Can't wait to get back into that host seat. No, I'm just kidding.
You're
Whoa.
like, yes, right, buddy. You're moving on.
Whoa.
You're out of
Oh
here.
my.
That's right. You better run. No. Yeah, like Dan said, we're co-hosts and we will alternate hosting from now on. So hopefully, I'll be able to host from next week.
That will be the plan. Sweet, sweet. Okay.
That's the plan.
So now it's time for the.
What?
For those who do not know, Retro Replay is a YouTube show hosted by Troy Baker and Nolan North. It's also produced by Red Bear Films. The main show is a trip back in time where they sit down and they play some retro games, old games from the 80s and 90s. They try to keep it more old and classic games, and then we like to sit back and rewind and talk about the episodes, the games that they play, the tangents they go on. And they also upload an episode of Nolan North playing basically himself in Uncharted. And this last week we had the last episode of the Uncharted playthrough, which the game was over. They had finished it by then, but we got to get the very amazing and special guest of Amy Hennig as a guest on the show.
That was so cool.
Yeah, that was amazing. Greg, do you want to kick off your thoughts and opinions on that episode?
Yeah, I thought it was great that they touched it with the creative director for it. And she has basically, this has been one of her babies, as they talked about on the show, on the episode, if you haven't seen it yet. It's kind of crazy how because I could never wrap my head around it, so it was nice her describing it, about how you start off with an idea, and then as you go on with this idea, other things get added to it, and then eventually here comes Uncharted 1, and then now down the road 11 12 years later, now you have this whole wonderful franchise of games, and everyone has its own charm, and there's things that just people love in every single one of them, and it's become one of the most beloved franchises. And I actually she posted on Twitter saying that she was on the show, and I commented and thanked her, and she actually saw it and liked it. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, so that was nice of her. I mean, I should have thanked her a while back, but since it was topical and she was on, it was good to finally say hi and thank her for this amazing franchise that she helped create.
100%.
That's my line.
Sorry.
I always say that. Like listening back onto the podcast, I'm like 100%, 100%. Like I always say that. So that's my line. But you can have it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I steal everybody's material.
Like Dabble.
Yep, I use Dabble.
Dabble. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Pagan.
But I have to throw it back to what Greg has said, and just saying like that was such a great moment to have them be on it. And it's so funny, like when they were playing Uncharted series and they were coming up to like the penultimate episode, and they were like, "Well, there's only one person we can see kind of coming on with us over the finish line." And I was like, "Oh, I wonder who it's going to be." I was like, "Will it be Emily Rose? Will it be like something?" Because like Emily Rose and Nathan Drake's, or Emily Rose and Nolan North at the end of the
They're interchangeable names.
uh basically the characters are on the ship or whatever, and there's kind of like the sunset moment, and I thought, oh, maybe that's what's gonna happen. And then at the end of that penultimate episode, they were like, next week coming up with Amy Hennig, and I was like, oh my god, that is so sweet, because now we'll get to see kind of like almost like an insider behind the scenes view of this. And what a great addition. I think like one of the highlights of that episode for me was when she was started to say that, like, so Troy was like, "Hey, have you played the games?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course I've played the games." And she's like, "Oh, but I must admit, like, it was painful watching you play, because you're painfully bad." And Troy's there like, "No, it's triangle." And it's like, for God's sake, Troy, circle to cover. And I thought, like, I can't believe she's related with us all. Like, she was just watching it like we all were. I think she only watched 4 episodes or something, but that was really cool. It was like a really cool insight to her, and the creative process behind it, because she said something like they started on the project 2004 ish, and I think it came out 2007. So it's good 3 years of processes and um, I guess creative engineering to get to that stage. And what a game! What a game!
Yeah, and we have her
For
to
sure.
thank for birthing that whole franchise essentially, and it's her
Yeah.
baby.
I was about to say 100%.
Yep, do it.
Yeah,
Drop it.
do it 100%. Yes,
There's
Do
a
it.
lot of
definitely. We have her to
100% in
thank.
this video.
Do it.
What is percentage about? Yeah. So I think I would agree. She is the reason we have the Uncharted series and franchise, and
Mm-hmm.
what a great franchise. So
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Amy Hennig, if you're not familiar with the name, she is an American video game director and scriptwriter. She is most well known for being the driving force behind the Uncharted series, like we've been saying. And she was also involved with Jack and Daxter, the Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City game that was out on the Super Nintendo. And she was also the director and writer for the majority of the Legacy of Kain series, which I didn't know that. And I am a huge fan of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, which she actually directed and wrote. And it's like, no wonder. And I also have a little fun fact too: is the Michael Jordan game from the Super Nintendo was in fact a single-player action adventure game and not a basketball game. Which, as soon as
okay.
I heard about that, I was like, wait a minute. If you go back and watch, there's one of the retro replay episodes that a fan had written in and asked them to play the Michael Jordan game, and they said, "Oh no, we're done with basketball games because of NBA Jam." And it's like, wait, it's not a basketball game though. It's actually an action adventure game. And Amy Hennig, she wasn't a creative director or any type like that. She was an artist on that game before she got a director role.
Okay.
I would still put that in with my highlights and my resume.
Oh yeah.
That's up there for sure.
And she also received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the GDC in March of this year. So
She should.
she's a big name in the video game world.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pleasure seeing her on the show and giving us some insider info on the process and what went down when they were making that game, especially when she dropped the bomb that Nolan North could have dropped the ball and we would have not had Nathan Drake anymore. It would have been Bob's fortune.
Bob's fortune. Yeah. That would, like, when she'd said that, I was like, what?
Yeah, I think that was one of my
Talking
favorite
about?
parts when she was talking about the creative process and talking about how they cast Nolan North and
Mm.
that if he hadn't done well, they would have moved on, and that was why the game was called Uncharted and not Drake or Nathan Drake.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Fun facts.
Yes.
Good thing he didn't drop the ball.
A good
Right.
thing. I even think in his audition or something like that, he said, "Ah, crap." Like, I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
something happened in his audition or his test stages or something like that, and he was like, "Oh, crap," and they were like, "Oh, it's brilliant, leave it in."
Well, she did
Like, I don't
mention
think it was.
that the reason they chose him was because he was the only person that auditioned that didn't try to make Nathan Drake a superhero. He was the only one that auditioned as like a human, like realistic person. And I mean, that's what made me
And I
love
honestly can't.
Nathan Drake as a character.
Yeah, I couldn't see anybody else playing him now. Like, there was just no way that anybody else could do that justice. Like, it has to be Nolan forever. So it kind of makes me a bit wary, like, where they're going to go into like history now, and
Mm-hmm.
they're casting a Drake. And like, look, I mean, I think um what's that kid's name?
Tom Holland.
Is going to be, who's fantastic. I love him. I think that he's such a great he's a great actor, and I think he's hopefully going to play like young Drake, but I just don't know what they're going to do for an adult Drake. I just don't know who would do that
Nathan
justice. I have no
Fillion.
idea. Yeah.
No, you don't agree?
Okay. I mean, I did like it, and I saw the like short film as well, and I do think that it was pretty great. I don't know. There's something that Nathan Fillion giving that Nolan North has. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's just something about Nolan North. Can Nolan North
I
not be it?
just,
Like, can Nolan North not be Drake? Come on, chuck
yeah,
him in there. Chuck
I
him in the
just,
movie.
I just hope he gets a cameo in it. That's all I want.
Oh, same.
But I think from what I read, and I could be completely wrong, is that it's supposed to be a prequel to all the Uncharted's, and it's focusing more on a young Drake.
Okay.
Most of the movie. That's why it's Tom Holland. So it is technically, from what I heard, it was supposed to be canon to the franchise.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know how accurate that is at this point in time. So,
To be
but
fair, if there are, sorry to cut across you, get Greg. If they're making a movie about a video game, that's how I would like it to be done. Like I
yeah,
don't want them to make Uncharted Drake's Fortune into a movie. I don't think it will work because you
No.
have so many hours of gameplay and small tidbits, that just won't work in a film. Whereas I feel like if they're gonna make a prequel or something like that, that will lead you on to the story of the games. Perfect.
Mhm.
Go
yeah,
for it. Or if you're gonna do something after, like based after where the games had finished, perfect. Go for it. But if you're actually literally translating, like I think they're doing a Last of Us movie in the script, and they are going to do it like the game. I got bugged by that. Like I was proper uncertain and a bit annoyed about it because I think I developed such a good relationship with these characters and everything out of these hours and hours of grueling gameplay that I don't even play those games. I don't play like any kind of survival horror games. Like I don't really play them. And then this is the first thing I completed and I fell in love with the story and I tried to do all the the optional conversations and everything. And when they announced that, I was like, I don't know. Like
yeah,
I don't know if that's gonna be a good choice for this. Like because
Yeah, video game movies are
mm,
always a tricky thing, and I actually just recently listened to an interview, well, a couple of different things with I've heard Troy and Nolan both talking about making movies out of video games, and I also recently listened to a conversation with the director and writer from Remedy Studios who made Mad Max, or not Mad Max, I'm sorry, Max Payne,
okay.
and
hmm
he did Alan Wake, and he's working on the new game Control. And they talked
hmm
about how they made a Max Payne movie, but Remedy Studios had no creative control over that movie whatsoever, and that movie was absolute garbage.
it was bad.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mark Wahlberg.
I didn't see it.
it was really bad.
Yeah, anything with Mark Wahlberg. Yeah,
But they touched on how difficult it is to take a video game which has dozens of hours of gameplay and
Yeah.
storytelling and condensing that down into an hour and a half. And it's really tricky to
yeah.
deliver a similar experience, but you can't try to tell the same story that the game's told. It just won't work.
And that's
Agreed. I
what
just think
the Max Payne movie did.
Hmm.
yeah. I just think don't feel like you're trying to concise your work. Like you're trying to just bundle it all up into a box that will fit between whatever 2 hours and there's so many hours of gameplay and
Hmm.
optional conversations and places to explore and things that you see like graffiti on the walls or notes from people that have died. Like you know what I mean? This is specifically referencing The Last of Us, but it's just like I feel so attached to that I'm like so hesitant. I'm not unsupportive. I'm very supportive of them doing it, and the fact that Neil Druckmann is going to do the script, I'm like, phew, I can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief because I mean, if I have an attachment to those characters, he certainly does.
Yeah,
So I get it, but at the same time, like I am super nervous about it. But that's
Right.
kind of why, like, I mean, like bringing it back to Uncharted and Amy Hennig and stuff like that, like they created this of characters and action and gameplay and sci-fi and like it's just perfect combination of everything and like I don't know how they could change that into a movie. I can't ever see that like without Nolan North, without Amy Hennig, like that just wouldn't have been a good show,
yeah.
Quick side
good
note
franchise.
tangent. Can you guys think of your
Mm.
favorite video game movie? If you
Okay,
have one?
so Greg, you can go first, and then I will come back at
Oh
you with
boy.
this.
I have
I
one in
haven't
mind already, so.
I
I
have
I
one.
I haven't watched a lot of like any of them. I haven't seen like the Tomb Raider or the Assassin's Creed movie that's come out in recent years. I've never
Okay.
seen Doom. Out of the ones that I've seen, I would probably say maybe the first or second Resident Evil movie with Mila Jovovich.
Hmm.
Okay.
I like the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I From what I can remember from watching them, I think I like the Resident Evil one a little more.
Okay. Now,
I
I
mean,
want
I
to
thought
follow
the
that up. Sorry, I just want to point out real quick. What do you think was a good adaptation movie? Not necessarily like was the movie good, but what do you think was a good representation of the original point that the game was trying to get across?
You mean for in the movie?
Right.
Then I would say Tomb Raider.
You think that the Tomb Raider movie captured what Tomb Raider the game was?
For the series that it went off of, yes.
Okay, sounds good.
The first
Yeah.
gen of Tomb Raiders, not the
Yes.
newer ones or the second
Agreed.
gen.
I agree.
Yeah. Agreed. I think like probably the best one is Angelina Jolie's character. I thought she Lara Croft. I thought like she really encapsulated what Lara Croft was about. So I really enjoyed that part of that.
Do you have one, Pagan?
Do have one, and Adam's gonna be raging now that he couldn't be on. But anyway, we were having this conversation.
Next time, Adam.
Next time,
Mhm.
we were having this conversation the other day, and we were talking about video game movies, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then I said, like in a completely different context, I said, "Do you know what movie I really want to watch again because I really loved, and I probably have seen it about 4 times?" I said, "What movie is that?" And I said, "It's The Edge of Tomorrow."
Hmm.
And he said, "Best video game movies ever made." And I was like, "That's not based on a video game, is it?" And he's like, "No, no, no." And this was like a quoted from something else that he'd seen. He was like, "No, no, hear me out." He's like, "It's live, die, repeat, right? So you're progressing to a certain part, and then you die. Repeat that section until you progress to a level that you like, that you're learning new things. So instead of going right, now you go left, and then you go left, and you're progressing to a certain level, and then you die, and then you live it and repeat it." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that is perfect. That is the sum up of what video games are, really." So
Actually,
I
yeah,
really enjoyed that.
that is a completely accurate position on that movie, and I felt the same way too watching it. Like, because this is a video game movie. It's not
Yeah,
a video game movie, but it is a video game movie.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I thought because I really genuinely really love that film.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know how I don't have it, but I used to live in England, and when I did, I stayed at my grandmother and my aunt's house, and they had Sky movies, and at the time that movie had sort of just come out onto Sky Premiere, and I was like, "Oh, sweet!" So I was literally watching that every time it was on, and if anybody has Sky, you'll know that that's probably like every night or every second or third night that it was on, and it's sometimes on the afternoon. Like I just love that movie. And when we were saying it that it was a video game movie, that totally makes sense
Hmm.
because that's exactly how you play any video game.
Yeah. Do you
You
want
live,
some
die,
good news
repeat.
about that movie, Pagan?
There another one?
I don't know if it's confirmed or I keep hearing rumors that there's supposed to be a sequel, but it's actually a
Mm.
prequel to the first one.
Hmm.
I could be
What?
wrong, but I keep hearing talks about another one, even though I think the movie got like mixed reviews.
It did.
Um,
I thought that it when it came out, I don't think it got like enough praise. Like I think a lot of people just didn't like it. Maybe they didn't get it.
they didn't understand it. Yeah, I think it was people didn't understand the concept of it.
Just didn't get it, and it was a freaking great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, I'm sure that the plot of that
Um,
movie goes over most people's heads if they're not familiar with that kind of storytelling,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just watch Groundhog Day.
right?
It's a version of Groundhog Day, except it's actually actionable, and there's different versions of the day because you progress to certain areas and
Wow.
certain levels and certain bosses and stuff. So
That makes
cool.
me think of The Messenger, if you guys have ever played The Messenger. Such a
You
great
played
game.
it? No.
I'd highly
Oh no.
recommend it.
Yeah, I need to
So,
What
look
is it?
into it. I've seen it. It looks
what is
good.
it? It's a
Yeah.
throwback game to Ninja Gaiden, which you should
Mhm.
Oh,
have seen
okay.
the retro replay episode where they played Ninja Gaiden.
Did.
It's basically
Yeah.
it's a modern take. It's a old school 8-bitty 16-bit graphics. Plays just like a Ninja Gaiden game, but it's has a new take on it, and it's very video gamey. It's very fourth wall breaking. Highly recommended though. I don't want to say too much more for any kind of spoilers, but it's
All right.
also very difficult. There's a huge difficulty spike. At first, it seems really easy, and then it gets really hard. But it's super super fun. Highly recommend.
All
Mhm.
right. Perfect. I will keep it in mind.
So
Did you have a movie in mind?
so you don't have an actual video game movie then, right?
Um,
I'll let you pass on that if you want to say no.
no, because I feel like, but like to be fair, I did see Assassin's Creed. I did see the new Tomb Raider. was not super happy with what they did or encaptured
Okay.
into any of them. Because I just feel like it didn't. To think like they captured Desmond Miles pretty well, I guess, and the actual like player, is that right? Altair, the assassin
Mm-hmm.
in the game. I think like all of that was pretty great. Just as a movie on a whole, I was like, meh, wasn't super into it. It
All right.
wasn't like
So either way, they were
super great.
not great movies, and they didn't do the video games justice, though.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
You?
So I would say I have a favorite movie, and I have one that I feel best represents the game series as a franchise and translates it really well into a movie that you can understand. And that movie is Super Mario Brothers. I'm kidding. I'm
Of
kidding.
course.
That's not the movie. That's not the movie. That movie's terrible. I love it
I was
though.
going to say.
No, that was a joke.
Greg
It's a
was
guilty
biting his
pleasure
tongue, being
movie.
like, "No."
I do love that movie. It's amazing, but it's a terrible movie.
Yeah.
It's a terrible
It's
movie to love.
definitely a guilty pleasure movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, but the movie I'm really, really talking about is the Silent Hill movie.
I've never seen it,
Oh my
and
god.
I've never
Same.
played Silent Hill.
Ugh.
Yeah, me same.
Wow, you guys are missing out
Sorry.
then. All right, so
I'm
first
so
of all,
sorry.
go play Silent Hill, and then watch the Silent Hill movie, and you'll be like, "Holy shit, this
Back
is
to
the
this
best
chat.
video game movie ever." Yes,
Mhm.
as soon as we're done, go play the game, then watch the movie. Because
See, I think like I mean I might have to stream that or something because I don't play horror and I don't play horror well, so I would need
Mhm.
people to be with me while I was playing it because
and to really appreciate the game or the movie, I mean, you need to play all 3 of the first Silent Hill games. You have to play 1, 2, and 3
Oh.
because the
Oh.
Silent Hill movie came out and it captures the drive, the narrative, and the
Right.
elements of both or all 3 of the original games. It features elements from each game, and it does things that no movie normally does. And the reason I have to give a shout out to that is there's moments in the movie that use tropes from the game without feeling like a video game, but you're like, oh, I see what they did there. And it's just a
Cool.
great horror movie altogether. Like, you will be like tearing your eyeballs out and like, oh god.
Yeah, I feel like that doesn't sound enjoyable for me. It feels like I'm gonna poop my pants, and I probably won't watch it anymore.
We're gonna get
Did you
stickers
have
made.
another one though?
Another movie?
Do you have another movie, or was that just the one movie that both encapsulates the franchise as well as the fact that it's a great movie?
That is the main one.
Okay.
I could say something else, like
Okay.
because my whole point that I was getting on with this subject was video or movies that capture what a video game was meant to do. And I was also thinking of the Doom movie, which first off is a terrible movie. It is bad, but
Never seen it.
it does some things that video gamers will appreciate because there's a whole segment
Okay.
in the movie where it goes into first person mode and you experience about 5 minutes of the movie in first person, and it's like, this is the game but in a movie. Holy shit. Because
Yeah.
if you've never played Doom, it's all first person shooter. You're running around blasting monsters and demons from a first person perspective. The movie is, of course, a movie where there's, set cameras, you're looking at the different characters, and towards the end of the movie, it goes into a first person mode from one of the characters, and you experience what he's going through for about 5 minutes in a one shot, just endless run of him running around blasting demons.
Sweet.
Otherwise, it's not a great movie, but it's that part to me is really fun.
And like on the same vein, do you or Greg have any video game was based on a movie that you thought, oh yeah, this is a really great video game because it quite encapsulates the movie as well as like good gameplay?
I'm
You think
sure.
about that one for a second.
I have a serious one, but I also have a jokey one.
Go for it.
Right, go for it.
Okay. So for my first one, I'll do the jokey one first.
Okay.
A game based off a movie that I thought captured the essence beautifully was the first Saw video game.
I never played that.
Okay. I never played that either, and I died.
It's all right. It's not it's average. The second one is like not that great. I would just stick with the first one. They're supposed to what they were trying to do is they were trying to make a Saw series in between each movie. So like the first Saw game takes place in between 1 and 2, and Saw 2 takes place in between 2 and 3. But the second one didn't do as hot, and the first one barely got enough to make a second one. So they just stopped doing them. So that's my jokey one. But I actually kind of like the first Saw game. It's pretty good. I would say the serious one I would probably say is which I don't know if a lot of people played. Probably I forgot the name of the title. It's a Jason Bourne. It's a Jason Bourne game. I think it's called the Bourne Conspiracy.
Okay.
That one is like its own little thing in the Jason Bourne series. Like it wasn't like anything great, but it kind of had that feeling like if you watch the Jason Bourne movies minus the shaky cam. A definite runner-up would be the Wanted Weapons of Fate game, based off of the Wanted movie, also starring Angelina Jolie. She was
There's
not
a
in
trend
this
here.
Yeah,
No.
there's an Angelina Jolie trend. So I would
Which
say
is fine. I will hop on board that trend. No problem.
Yeah, because a lot of games based off of movies are just tie-ins, and they're usually not that good. But those two kind of stick out. I think the Bourne Conspiracy definitely gets overlooked, but I would definitely try. It's a third-person action game, so.
Well, I mean, I have something similar in terms that it is an action game. But has anybody ever played The Matrix Reloaded?
No.
The video game?
Yeah, the video game.
You're not talking about Enter the Matrix?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Enter the
Okay,
Matrix.
because I know that's a really good game. I've played that.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, of course. God, anyway, sorry.
Sorry.
We'd only just watched The
Called you
Matrix the
out.
other day, and then No, that's all right. Call me out. I'm a fake gamer. No,
There was a Blade 2
Enter the
video
Matrix.
game. I remember playing a
didn't see
Blade
that.
video game too on PS2. That was really good.
Adam does have that. Adam has a Blade video game on PS2, but I've never played it. But we did play Enter the Matrix. You're right, and
Yes.
that game really does encapsulate what the movies are. I freaking loved that game. That was awesome. It's just the gameplay and everything. You did everything like you can do the slow mo and it's just sweet. It's a really good game. Yep.
So I didn't initially
my own.
think of games based on movies, and then it kind of like just smacked me in the face. I was like, oh yeah, GoldenEye. Probably one of the best video game
GoldenEye.
adaptations of a movie ever.
Okay.
And just it's the
I actually think
sorry.
on that. I think Adam might agree. I'm not sure. I don't want to speak for him, but yeah, I think he also has played that game before.
I was having a little trouble thinking about it, but I know I've probably got dozens of video games that are based on movies that I've played and enjoyed, and I just for whatever reason I can't think of them at the moment. And the first thing that just popped in my head is I have
GoldenEye.
Godzilla for PS4, which that's a very niche fan game. But it's like the whole purpose of the game is it captures everything that all the movies of Godzilla have done over the 60 plus years of Godzilla. And you just you play as Godzilla and you walk around cities and you destroy them and you battle other monsters, and it's a good time. And that's what happens in the movies.
I still need to get that. I haven't played it yet, and I should because I'm a huge Godzilla fan.
Oh, really, Greg? I did not know this. Hello.
Hi,
Greg. Hello.
Hi, how are you? What's your name? Hi.
Nice to
Not
meet you.
that big of a Godzilla fan.
Ooh, Godzilla.
Pagan, get out.
You're done.
Yeah, I'll show myself out.
This is now officially the Godzilla podcast, so you have to leave.
Yeah. Everything Godzilla
No, I'm
related.
just not that big of a fan. Like, I mean, sure.
You don't like
I get it,
kaiju?
and I'll watch the movies and stuff. Yeah.
Have you seen Pacific Rim?
No.
That I haven't seen. I haven't seen any of those.
I have only seen the movie with Matthew Broderick.
Oh, the 1998 American Godzilla, which is trash.
Godzilla. Yeah.
Basically that is all I've ever seen, and I'm like,
You haven't seen the new ones either? The 2014 and the one that just came out, King of the Monsters? No?
No, I haven't seen any of those. Nope.
Anyways, off Godzilla. Let's move on. I'll talk about Godzilla all day.
Yeah, I need a Godzilla education or something because I am not the biggest fan. So
I'll have to stream some Godzilla gameplay.
Hopefully they play a
I will.
Godzilla game down
Yeah,
the
I mean,
road.
I will say though, like they have some cool artwork, especially like Japanese artwork and stuff like that for
It's so
Godzilla, and
intense.
like you can see like artwork on graphic tees and on prints and stuff. Oh, their artwork is sick, and I am a big fan of the artwork of Godzilla. I just don't.
There's some deep lore there.
Moving on. Yeah.
Anyways, let's jump over
Anyways.
to the last episode of Retro Replay that we got on Thursday, where they played the Simpsons arcade game. Woo!
Ah, yes. Oh, speaking
So-
of games that are related to films or TV shows.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
Simpsons. Good
There
segue.
we had-
Segue unreal.
We had a theme all along.
It was planned.
We fooled you guys.
Haha.
Yeah.
Thought we were just winging it.
Yeah, definitely not.
So-
All of this is scripted.
The Simpsons arcade game was based on, obviously, the super longest running art cartoon series of all time, the Simpsons TV show. And it was developed by Konami and was a side-scrolling beat-em-up game similar to the Ninja Turtle games, which I didn't realize that. And when I was watching them play, it's like, oh, yeah, this is definitely like Ninja Turtles, but with Simpsons characters.
Cool episode though. I think we did see a good bit of gameplay in this episode, which was nice. And for anybody who did play the arcade game or who was in Manchester, MCM Comic Con, we went to NQ64 on the Sunday night, and they had the Simpsons arcade game there as well. So did get a go on that. So it was kind of like a prequel.
No.
It was dough. The fancy humor. Yeah.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed that. I mean, I didn't play much of the game.
We're going to set Greg off. Dough.
Joe.
Re mi fa sol la ti do. But yeah, I didn't play the game that much in the arcade. But I like the series. I like the franchise. I like the cartoon. Who doesn't like The Simpsons?
I mean, it's lost me over the years. I was a big fan when I was a kid. I haven't been watching it in the last 10 years, probably.
Oh,
I catch an episode here or there, especially when they do like a mashup. I was a big fan of the Futurama crossover episode and the Family Guy crossover episodes. Those are the ones that I would like, oh, I have to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
I like Futurama more than Simpsons.
I don't.
Shit.
Oh, I'm gonna save that for the end.
Yeah, we'll save it for the end.
Yeah, Yep. Okay. So The Simpsons. I have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth from them. Yeah, it's kind of personal. Nothing against Simpsons, but also against The Simpsons. I was a big fan of Universal Studios growing up. And there was this particular ride that they had that was very popular.
I think I've been on that.
It's called Back to the Future: The Ride. One of the best rides Universal Studios ever had. And that was around the time that Universal Studios was desperate and was like, oh, let's start putting rides of things that are topical. Now, Universal Studios has become a shell of itself. And what replaced Back to the Future ride that has been there for, I would say 12 years already now, a Simpsons ride that is a 3D motion simulator that barely moves, and it's not that fun. It has some charm, but we'll save my anger for that for another day. Yeah, I know it's personal.
I think I've been on that ride.
Yeah, I will say though, I did play the Simpsons arcade growing up. And that was like one of my favorite arcade games to play. The Simpsons arcade is very popular. And it's kind of cool that they brought it to consoles, but it doesn't beat having that nostalgia feeling or playing it in the arcade because you get to play around with all your friends and work together in an arcade setting.
I love all those multiplayer side-scrolling beat-em-up games like that.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
That Simpsons I don't know what they did, but they did it perfectly, and they captured the essence of what it would be like if like the Simpsons were like in a beat 'em up world. So I definitely, if you haven't played it, get it on a console. But if you're at an arcade and you see it, definitely sacrifice some quarters for it. It's worth it.
If you can't find it on like a classic system, I know they re-released it for Xbox 360 and PS3, but as far as I had seen, they've taken those down from the server, so you can't actually get them anymore.
Oh, that's weird. Is it a licensing thing, or
I'm not sure, but I think it's if you had purchased them before, you can still download it, but if you don't own it, they're not available anymore.
Okay, well I didn't know that.
Like, oh, sadness. I'm pretty sure I remember playing this game as a kid going to the arcades, but I don't have a lot of memories of it. It was familiar when I saw them playing it, but I don't remember. I probably only played it in the arcades, and that's probably why. And it probably didn't grab my attention as much as other games like Time Crisis and Mortal Kombat at the time. I have more memories of playing Bartman on the Nintendo. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I remember
I've never played that.
Yeah, I remember playing that game on the Nintendo as a kid, and there was a level on the Great Wall of China that was just a nightmare, and I just remember being stuck on that level and like rage quitting all the time.
Is that the one where he versus the space mutants?
I don't remember. I'd have to look and check it out.
Because there's a couple of them, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look.
Okay.
I don't remember any of those games. The only Simpsons game that I remember playing was Simpsons Hit and Run. Did anybody play that?
Yes.
I think it was a PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1.
I played its sequel or its successor, which was The Simpsons Road Rage.
Those were both really good, though, and they were straight like Crazy Taxi rip-off games.
Yeah.
Such a good game, though. Like, it was really fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't really have any context for this one except for what I'd done at NQ64 at Manchester last weekend. So, yeah, I mean, it was good. I thought it was really interesting, like, where they went with it. Like, they're playing the freaking Simpsons game, and they started going off into, like, the fact that stripper club, and then they started talking about porn. And you're like, how did we get here, guys? Like, you've got so much content, and like, Drew's probably pulling his nut.
In the usual fashion that Troy and Nolan do, they talk about where, like, it's usually Troy because he's the gamer, he's the one that's played these games. Yeah. He usually goes off on his tangents of he remembers playing the game at X time, and that's how we got the story of him DJing at a strip club because he was remembering when he played the arcade game, and that's what led us down that tangent.
Sitting there DJing, strippers come out on stage and do their thing, and he's watching The Simpsons, like, with closed captions and no sound, and like just having a good time and forgetting the fact that he's actually at his job and like announcing strippers and DJing for it. Like, I just think that's comedy right there.
I still need to hassle him and find out what his DJ name was because I feel like that's an important question.
What Troy Baker's DJ name was?
You should have asked me. I would find out.
DJ TB?
Baker. It's probably something really simple.
DJ Baker
Buns.
DJ
Baker Buns for the Baker bitches.
Yeah. That's a thing, by the way.
It's a thirsty thing that the replayers have. The Baker Bun bitches. Yeah. No, I think like it was a really interesting episode in terms of like where they went with it. I feel like the gameplay was like meh, meh. Like, it's just a side scroller. It's just what we've seen before. It's the same thing except for cartoons, but I do enjoy where the story went with that, like where it led them on the tangents. And like you said, it's Troy sharing an awful lot because it's usually him who's playing the games and it's starting from a certain point. But yeah. And then they did a rewind to the episode where they were talking about porn in a different episode and raising young men in the world where like porn is so accessible, and like teaching kids about what it's, I guess, not supposed to be like, or what it's supposed to be like, but it's not like that in real life. And then I just think it was a really interesting sort of segue into like porn culture and what it's doing now to people and how accessible it is, and the fact that those two were like hovering in the aisle where the porn magazines were, and like stashing them in like Farmer's Digest or something like that, flicking through the pages and looking at titties. Like, I just think it's titties.
I would say that's general behavior of most young men. I would say that wouldn't be something I've never done before.
Sure, yeah. I am not guilty. I was such a sucker for like the teen magazines where like some famous, I
That's
don't know,
girl porn.
heartthrob would be on it. Yeah, that was my girl porn. The heartthrob would be on the cover and it'd be like, do a test to see if you would match his personality or something. And I'd be like, ooh, I
Yeah.
can't wait.
That's girl porn. Guy porn is we want to see them titties. Girl porn is you want to know what makes these guys tick.
Now, Pagan, what I really want to know
That's literally it. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
was your okay. Was you reading through those teen magazines? Were you an Aaron Carter or a Jesse McCartney?
Jesse McCartney for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Jesse McCartney had this like, oh, I don't know, this almost like a subtle bad boy thing about him. And then when he came out with that song, whatever the hell that song is, Beautiful Soul, is that right?
I have no idea.
You're asking
God,
us. We don't
Wrong.
know.
I'm asking the wrong people.
I need to fact check that. So while I Google it, yeah, like, oh man, I just think he was pretty cute. However, what I will say is like, I, like, wasn't really a thing in Ireland and in like South Africa because Aaron Carter wasn't a big thing. I think it must be American thing.
I'm wondering
Yeah,
how
he
many
sang
of the
Beautiful Soul, I
female
think.
replayers are listening to the show right now going, yes, yes, Pagan.
He also voices of, I think, Ventus in the Kingdom Hearts games.
Oh, who? Jesse?
Yeah, Jesse McCartney does. I think it's Ventus.
Really?
Birth by Sleep, is that Ventus?
I don't know, but I need to buy Kingdom Hearts now.
Yeah, Give Birth by Sleep.
Yeah. No, I think like, I mean, Jesse McCartney, he was kind of well known in Ireland and in South Africa for the song that he did, like Beautiful Soul, and then he became like the teen heartthrob. And then it was a lot of like Justin Bieber and other people, but like honestly, my first ever celebrity crush is somebody that's probably like so far out that no one would probably know who I'm talking about.
I probably won't. Who?
He was Frankie Muniz.
Oh, no shit.
Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
Goodness, it's such a thing for him. Pictures on my wall. I would like go and like rent Agent Cody Banks from the VHS store.
Oh man.
Die hard for that kid, but then I grew up.
Big
I was like, oh yeah.
Big Fat Liar, though. You can't beat that movie.
Not beat that movie. No, that was brilliant. Like, I don't know. I think like it's just different. Like culturally, it's different because I guess I didn't really have any South African teenage heartthrobs that I thought were good or any Irish ones. Like Westlife was huge. Westlife was like a thing because it was the boy band and they were all pretty. Too.
Big Fat Liar. Oh man.
Liar movie is amazing. Such a great movie. For anybody listening who's never seen that movie, go and watch it.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they've had a thing for Frankie Muniz.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. Even my parents are probably like, really?
Frankie Muniz is a forgotten person, I guess.
See, now, I would have watched that movie more for Paul Giamatti. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti
he was
freaking
hilarious in that movie.
I love that guy. So many people make fun of him, but he's such an amazing actor. I love him.
He really is.
Real. Him in Billions is just fantastic.
Yeah.
His portrayal in Billions is just really, really good. But he's a great actor anyway. But like that whole film was just nothing but fun. Played Turk in Scrubs.
Oh,
he was
yeah.
in that movie too.
Yeah.
And Amanda Bynes, Amanda something.
Amanda Bynes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda Bynes, yeah, she was in that too. Great film. But yeah, so while y'all were thumbing through the titty section, I was like going through the teen section, being like, "What color are your eyes?" or "What color is your?"
Looking at Frankie Muniz, fanning yourself like, "Oh,
yeah."
Cover. I'm telling you, I bought like 3 copies. I wanted all the photos, like just want them all over my wall. Poor Frankie Muniz doesn't even know that there was a shrine dedicated to him in my house for a good while, and my parents would be like,
"Now he knows."
Like, yeah, now he knows. Yeah, because Frankie Muniz listens to this podcast. 100% does. Yeah, for sure.
I heard from a good source that he does regularly.
Yeah, and has notification, like the notification bell. So as soon as you upload, he's listening to the next one.
Fun fact: Frankie Muniz is a massive retro replay fan.
Fun fact? No way.
I have no idea.
Can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine though if he was?
That would be kind of cool.
Oh Lord, no, that would.
One of these days, again, he's gonna show up on your doorstep. Like I heard.
Yo, I heard that you had a shrine. Can I see? I'm like, that's long gone now. It's replaced with like retro replay crew all over my house. No, don't.
grandfather clocks, and oil paintings and
Yeah,
abstract
just
art.
proper shrines, like any hair that was bought off the internet, candles.
It's kind of weird.
Okay. A little bit of
Alright.
an inside look into Pagan's life.
Yeah, behind the scenes of Pagan. That's
That just
interesting.
came in from like porn magazines to teen magazines. Like that's not fair. You guys probably had something. Like
We
you
don't-
had celebrity crushes and pictures on
Yeah,
your wall.
but we didn't collect people's hair and keep it like in our like a hoard of hair that people clipped off and donated or sold on eBay.
That was only just.
If I could, as far as fanboying go, I was a huge metalhead as a kid, and I was obsessed
Really?
with the band Korn. And I used
Oh,
to,
of
I used
course
to,
you should be.
I
Big
used to collect magazines and cutouts of posters of the band, and I had them like all over my walls as a kid. I was going through my metal emo stage.
It was more of like an emo kid, I have to say. Mine was all like Paramore and Blink 182 and My Chemical
182 is emo.
Romance.
I guess
Emo,
they
it was
kind
kinda
of
like
went emo
pop
after.
punky scene. Um, but they definitely fell in that category. There was like
The Offspring.
Oh
Paramore
God,
definitely.
ugh. Don't get me started on the
The
Offspring.
Offspring were so good.
I
What's
hate
wrong
the
with you? They're
Offspring.
so good.
How dare you?
Terrible.
Popular opinion, Jesus.
Ugh.
No, I think I don't know. I think I liked all those kind of scenish kind of people. I liked My Chemical Romance was a big one for me, and my mom had met them. She used to work at the airport, and she met them twice when they came here for download. And the first time she met them, she had no idea who they were. And the second time she met them, because she came home and she was like, "Oh, I met these people, and they were awesome, and they were famous, so I got them to sign something for you." I was like, "Oh my god, that's so sweet!" I was like, "Mom, do you know who they are? Oh my god, they're just amazing. You're so good." And she's like, "No, they're My Chemical something." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And she got to hang out with freaking band and she had no idea. So in between the year that she didn't see them, I made her listen to all of their albums and she absolutely loved them, like loved them. And then when they came back, she finally appreciated it. And she was like, "By the way, since I met you last, I've gone back and listened to all your albums and you're awesome." And they're like, "Oh, thanks very much." And they like really appreciated the fact that she'd put in some work and like actually researched who they were. So yeah, fun fact, fun tangent for you all.
We have a lot of those today.
I'm writing that down.
Today. That's okay.
Well, if we can do a little rip back to the topic on hand, as far as The Simpsons goes, I was going to say let's talk about some of our favorite moments from this week, and I want to go ahead and start us off with the Uncle Noli plot from this week's episode, which was awesome.
So good.
Very intense.
I really appreciate it. Like he did a good job.
I
So
like
good.
that he just straight up screamed it. Like Troy yells it, but Nolan screamed it.
Yeah. Man, so good. Appreciated it.
That was definitely my favorite. It was a good week. Like we had some great stuff between Amy Hennig on the Uncharted playthrough, and then the whole Simpsons episode was really fun and funny. But the switch up in the beginning with Troy playing and Nolan doing the plot, that was just too good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Any highlights from you, Greg?
Greg, did you have a highlight?
Oh, I sure did.
Woo. Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. Since Dan said the plot one, I'm gonna go with. Okay. No, I'm kidding. No, I liked this having Amy on the last episode. I think was very satisfying, and we watched Nolan from beginning to end, and in the beginning, as we stated, he wasn't that good. But I mean, technically, he's still learning quite a bit. He's gonna need a lot for Uncharted 2, but he stuck with it. He got through it. A lot of sections, as we've touched upon over the weeks, he did better than we did on some of them. But having Amy on, kind of like talking about that first game and what it took, and the fact that that Nolan's job was on the line if it didn't do well. All these things that because people heard a lot of behind the scenes of like the Uncharted 4 and maybe like 2 or stuff, but like I never really heard much about what it took behind the first game. So it was nice hearing getting more in light of what it took and what she did to make the first game possible, which led to this wonderful franchise.
Yeah,
Julia.
I my highlights as well, Greg, is that Amy Hennig was on the show firstly. I think one of my favorite highlights is probably her calling out Troy for being for yelling out the wrong instructions and saying that watching the gameplay was painful with Nolan, because I was like, yes, you know how we feel. But also like just hearing her stories about how she was mentored and her relationship with her like acting coach, I think, and like all of that was kind of like deep meaningfuls. Like it put a lot behind it, and I feel like it just went deeper than a lot of the episodes do, because a lot of them are just on the surface. But yeah, this was a really nice touch to have her on and to give us like almost like behind the scenes background information about their casting process and their process of trying to get it off the ground, and like it potentially becoming Bob, and
Bob's Fortune.
all that. Yeah,
That
Bob's
classic
Fortune.
hit.
I kind of want to see that, no lie, though.
I actually commented
So
to
do
them
I.
saying, please, Amy Hennig, make Bob's Fortune now.
Yeah.
Do a spin-off, god damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that was probably my highlight. I think seeing Amy Hennig on it and just having her have the chats with the guys was just such a wonderful episode. And I think it's like whatever. I think it's one of their longer episodes. Maybe it's 40 minutes long, 35 minutes long.
I think some of their
It's
longer
so
ones
awesome.
have
And
gone to an hour sometimes, and that was
oh,
before
really?
they had a guest on too.
Oh, I see. Well, do you know what? It was interesting because there really wasn't that much. Like, I mean, there was no gameplay in this
Right.
week's Uncharted episode, and it was just purely talking and going through the process and the behind the scenes, and it was really enlightening to see that. And it was also this is going to sound a bit weird, but it was also really inspirational and really uh, motivational, and yeah, like I say, inspiring, I guess, to see Amy Hennig on there. And she's a woman in the industry, and she was the creative director for Uncharted, and she brought us such an amazing franchise. And she's sitting there talking with two of the greatest video game performers in the industry, and it's just really nice to see people who are top of their game come on and talk to everybody, take the time out to talk to um, I guess retro replay fans, because I know that we're having a chat on the couch and all this, but it is all done for us, because without it, like without the 155 plus thousand subscribers, the show wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't all be here, and we wouldn't all be talking to this. So really, Amy has had a hand in pretty much everything. So yeah, it was really cool. I
Much
really
how
enjoyed that.
she got Nolan his house, she brought us Nolan's success and Troy's success, so that we now have retro replay.
Damn straight. It's all
Oh,
this one
heck
big Lego
yeah.
effect that happened. Or Lego, what's
So,
it called? Domino effect.
Domino effect. You could
Mhm.
probably use Legos, but it might not work as well.
Yeah, Legos probably would work as well. They
Lego
get stuck,
dominoes.
and
Yeah.
if you step on them, it's just a nightmare.
I was just gonna say the Lego effect in my mind is somebody stepping on a Lego and dying from it.
Definitely. Yeah,
Lego
definitely.
poisoning.
Yes.
Yep.
Like you just instantly die from stepping
All
on a
been
Lego.
there. It's the face you make when you step on a Lego. You're like, oh, like it's like an actual face that you feel. I'm sure everybody's just cringed right now when you thought about stepping on a whole bunch of Lego. Ugh. Painful.
Yeah, when someone
Almost as
threatens
painful
you.
as watching Nolan's playthrough.
Well, when someone says, "Hey, I hope you step on a Lego at night," they really.
Well, hopefully now that
They really got it for you.
Yeah.
So they finished Uncharted 1. We don't know exactly what's in store for us on Monday, but I'm sure everybody's hoping for Uncharted 2. We've also openly said that we'd like to see them do an in-between game, but I don't... Based on what they said and how the episode ended, I feel like it's going to roll right into Uncharted 2.
Yeah, sneak peek. I definitely think they're going into Uncharted 2 from what we were having a chat with on the show and in MCM Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
They're rolling straight into Uncharted 2, and they will be having guests on. So yeah, that's gonna be freaking awesome. So they'll have more guests from the actual game on the show soon.
Oh,
Sweet.
heck yeah.
So we'll probably most likely start seeing more of the people who actually were involved with the game, and hopefully we'll get Claudia Black and Emily Rose. And
I
I can't think of
Claudia.
Sullivan's actor right now. Richard.
Yeah, Richard McGonigal.
McGonagall, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think Richard McGonagall and Emily Rose are probably 4 definite. I don't know about Claudia Black.
I
I'm not
hope they
sure,
get
but
her.
that would be freaking sweet. Yeah, I would really like to see it with Richard McGonagall as well because I don't know if Richard
Yeah.
McGonagall's played these games, and that would be cool.
I would just like to
He
have him
doesn't
come
seem
on
like a
and just
gamer.
talk like Sully the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. He probably would too. That would
And
make
I hope he brings a highlighter
Oh yeah.
to have in his mouth.
Choose on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, please. Also, can I just reference something real quick out of tangent? Today, or a couple of days ago, Troy and Nolan put up a Twitter post and also on Instagram that they burnt a hole,
Oh yeah, in the
right?
studio.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
studio. And myself and Adam just looked at each other and we're like we had no idea. We literally thought it was in someone's basement. So I have to just shout out props to the props guy and the set design guy because gosh darn it, that was a really good set because it definitely looks like a basement. That
Oh,
looks
where
like
you
real
kind
brick.
of get the behind the scenes look at the actual studio, and you see, oh, this
Yeah.
is a studio.
Yeah. I always knew it was
I-
a studio, but I figured it was like the brick was like because a lot of people do that now. They have the brick wallpaper that if you do it really well, it looks like actual a lot of people are actually doing it now. It's actually adhesive strips that you just stick
Yeah.
together or it's just a
Adhesive medical
wallpaper.
strips.
Yeah.
I've
One
always
of
They
had
those.
the
just throw it
child.
on.
I've always had the childlike wonderment in my mind that that was actually Troy's basement, even though I knew it wasn't. But for some reason, it probably helped that the first episode I ever saw was the Christmas episode, and for some reason that just linked it in my brain that this is Troy's basement. They're hanging out in his basement playing video games like two buddies.
I always thought it was Drew's basement for some reason. I don't even know why I was sucked into this. Like, I'm such a believer. Like, I definitely was sucked into the fact that I thought it was a real basement studio. And I thought, how big is this basement? Because they're talking a lot about Drew and everything behind the camera. And I'm like, we
Mhm.
can't even see the TV. So the depth of that basement must be quite large. Like, the actual room size must be big. The freaking studio, Pagan. Like, oh, I was so drawn in. I'm so sucked into it. I feel conned. It's all fake.
So I feel like
Uh,
we were trying to avoid this subject earlier, but do you guys want to drop an unpopular opinion?
No.
No, no, you don't want to
Greg
go
has
into it, Greg.
many. I feel like Greg has 2.
Well, I feel like
Greg
we've already
firstly
hinted at like 3 so far in this conversation.
really? There
Yeah.
was definitely like we had been speaking beforehand before we started recording, and that Greg doesn't like the God of War games, and we were like, right, we will come for you.
What?
Just get out.
Uh,
What
What?
the newest
No.
game, the newest game.
Uh
Also
yeah.
that you may or may not like Futurama.
Yeah, I don't like Futurama.
I was saying
What?
I think Futurama's
Why?
a better show than The Simpsons.
I think Futurama is stupid.
Eh,
What? Futurama's
I
fantastic.
tried to watch it. I can't get into it. I've never liked it. However, I used to hate South Park, but now I love South Park.
Oh, South Park
Um,
is unreal. I'm
yeah,
so glad
no,
you like that.
Futurama. Even when they brought Futurama back for a couple seasons,
oh, it
like
got so good when they brought it back.
I, I didn't care for it. I just never have. I don't know why. I know it's from the same guy who made The Simpsons, but I don't know. The Simpsons to me just stands out better.
Maybe I'm
than
just a big
Futurama.
Billy West fanboy because he voices like half the characters in that show.
Yeah, Billy West is very good. I do. I have to give Billy West the credit though. He is a very talented voice actor. But going back to the God of War, since I'm kind of forced to talk about it.
Wait, if you're gonna go into God of War, I'm gonna drop it.
Unpopular opinion.
All right, now you can go.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I like that soundbite. By the way, it's really good.
It is good. Thank you.
You're great, Simba.
Oh no, thank you.
Unpopular.
So unpopular opinion. So I think I've mentioned it before a little bit, but we kind of glanced over it because we were talking about other important things. I will say this: God of War, it has a great story. It's a beautiful game. I like the characters mostly.
Mostly.
It's the combat, and I know that's kind of stupid because the combat is different from the original hack and slash. I'm not a big fan of games where you have to, and I think Dan said something prior. He said that you have to read the tells of the character of the enemies to like block them in time, because it's one of those games where you have to block the enemy beforehand, so you do basically you hit them once and then you block. Like you can't just counter or block, and some enemies you can't counter. I like games like Spider-Man and Batman and even Mad Max where you have a countering system. I would have enjoyed it more if that was there, but for me to have to like take time to like tell different enemy tells, I just can't get into that, and that's what killed me.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I also do agree that I like the games where you can counter somebody, because it gives you that time and all that. But like it didn't make a massive difference to me. I really enjoyed this game. I like. Oh,
I
it
know.
was great. The story was fantastic. When you meet the stranger for the first time, holy shit,
So good.
that's so good. Like that whole scene, that whole thing is epic. And then Dan and I were talking about this before we had recorded, and like it's that bit where he has to uncover the past and has to go back to who he was, and he goes back to his house and goes into the basement. And I won't spoil it for anybody, but like it's just that moment where you're just like, damn, this is so cool.
I like
so
that was my
good.
favorite part. That whole cut scene alone was my favorite part of the whole game.
Man,
I
what a great
will
cutscene.
I will say that what you equip after,
Yeah.
like I love the axe throwing and then retrieving the axe. It made me feel kind of like Thor. I kept doing that the whole game to enemies, but once I grabbed that certain item, I never used the axe again.
I mean, I guess so. Like,
The
I mean,
item
once
that
you
will
get
not
the
be
different
named.
weapons and stuff,
Or
those items that won't be
Spoilers.
named. But to be fair, like, I mean, can we spoil the game? It's already been out, whatever, a year, 2 years or something now.
Go ahead, Pagan, take the bullet.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you
No,
can take
I
the
don't
bull.
want to. Yeah, could you get all the hate stream? Be like, I was
Yeah.
listening to your podcast and I
Take the
haven't
hate
played the
off
game
of
yet.
Yeah, take the hate off of me for not liking Futurama. Go take the bullet for God of War.
No, but I enjoyed all the mechanisms in that game. I liked the fighting. I liked uh the thing like when you freeze a door and stuff like that. Like I really enjoyed all that kind of stuff. Like freeze things and getting those bloody green birds. I know that was optional and everything, but like trying to find them was so difficult throughout the whole game. But I really liked that. I really
I
enjoyed
think
it.
I know the real
I
reason why Greg didn't like the new God of War.
Oh, what's that?
It didn't have any titties in it.
Oh, titties. So he was like, "This is shitty."
So the
I don't
original
like
God
it.
of War games had the sex scenes. There was always a sex
That's
scene in
true.
every
They
one
did.
of them.
The mini game where you had to mash the button to get
Mhm.
Kratos off. Yeah.
Stop.
Well,
Oh my god.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, it did put a damper on the mood, but it's all right.
You're
It's
like
fine.
playing through the whole game going, where them titties at? Where are
Yeah.
Them
they?
titties. I'm expecting some titties, and then you meet Freya, and you're
Boy.
like, "Finally!" And you're like, "Oh no."
Boy, go
I'll just
find me the
hide it.
titties.
False alarm.
I'll just hide it
Yeah.
in my Farmer's Digest, like we talked about earlier.
Like, boy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Stripper mags. Get me those.
But
Get me
Kratos is
those
a
magazines
daddy.
with
He's got to
titties.
be responsible now.
I at first and probably still, I don't like Atreyu.
I don't.
I don't either.
I don't like him.
I didn't like
I
him.
don't like the character. I don't like the way he is. He's just so child. But you know what? Like,
He's a jerk.
it was a good story.
It was
Like,
mean.
it still was a good story, and
Yeah.
it's well acted and well shot and well designed and created. So it's a fantastic game, and I think we said that it got Game of the Year, right? So
You're welcome.
everybody else likes it, Greg.
I
Hop on
voted
board.
for Game of the Year for it, so.
Before you played
I
it,
think
though.
it's so funny because you voted before you played,
Well,
right?
because I thought it was stupid that Red Dead Redemption 2 came out in the same month the video game awards are coming out, and they already had a nomination.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That was
That's
a little
true.
unfair, I
And
think.
so I was like, that's not fair. So I decided to vote on a game that I hadn't played or whatever. I did a lot of Spider-Man voting, but I don't know if Spider-Man was on Game of the Year.
I think
It
it was
might have been.
nominated.
I don't know. It was either that or God of War, but I think I voted for God of War or something. So it's not because I do like the other 6 games. I'm not gonna take away. I do like the series, but the last God of War, I enjoyed it, but I was like glad that it was over after I played it.
Wow. You know what though? The only game that I felt like that where I was glad that it was over were 2 games: Horizon Zero Dawn and Red Dead Redemption, the first one. I was so glad it was over. Only because I loved Red Dead Redemption, but I just felt like that things, and I'm like, you could have ended this an hour ago. Like, why am I still playing this game? Like, this should have ended already. And then when it did end, I was like, oh, finally.
I haven't played it, but I hear similar opinions when it comes to the Days Gone. People say that that game drags on a little too long.
I would like to play that though. I would like to play Days Gone.
I'll play it eventually, one of these days.
Yeah, it's on my list under like 5,000 other games, but I'll get there.
Like yeah, yeah.
Well, on that note, let's talk about what have we been playing.
I will start. I'm just playing Uncharted 2 at the moment, and then Layers of Fear is on my Twitch stream at the minute. That's what we're playing through because I couldn't get BioShock to work on Twitch. So even though I would like to continue and actually start to play BioShock, I'm still just playing Uncharted 2 and Layers of Fear. Although I will come at you with something random.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in the vein of What's Good Games, the podcast that's available on iTunes and SoundCloud and everything. If you haven't heard it, go watch it. But one of the hosts there is kind of like addicted to mobile gaming, so she's kind of got me back into mobile gaming, and I found a game that is incredibly addictive. It's really kind of simple. It's not an action game. It's not a story-driven game really or anything. It's just like it's called My Cafe. To this game, like I'm just addicted. There's no like there is the option for like in-game purchases, like you could purchase other things, but I like the fact that like that's not pushed on you all the time. Like you can still play the game without having to purchase anything. It'll just take you longer. So I guess people who are like to spend money in those mobile games and like want to get shit done quicker, they can just put the £5 in and get however many diamonds to buy your extension or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but it's a really fun game, and I highly recommend it if you've got nothing to do.
It's pretty standard for mobile games nowadays.
Which is really nice, because I think some mobile games that I have played in the past are very much like you only get to this level or something like that, and then it kind of they force the purchases on you, and you're like, oh, I don't want to purchase this, blah blah blah, and you pay €1 or €2 or $1 or $2 or whatever, and then eventually you're just like, why do I keep paying for this? Like I've already paid. Like, let me do stuff in this game. So
there's
anyway,
actually
I found
a Godzilla mobile game like that too.
No way.
Yeah,
maybe I'll try that.
it came out pretty recently with a new movie that came out a few weeks ago.
Really?
It's like
maybe I should try it.
Similar.
Yeah, they have a lot of. I've actually noticed a trend. They have ever since Pokemon Go came out, they've made other games that are like that. They actually have one for Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, where you go around walking around looking for ghosts and busting them.
That's kind of cool.
It basically makes you get out, but most people aren't going to leave their house. I think there's I think there was another game like that. I forgot. Oh, Jurassic Park. They have a Jurassic World.
There's a Harry Potter game now too, like that.
Harry Potter, yeah. So they're taking that formula and making that a new standard for mobile games too.
The AR.
The formula at Pokemon Go, yeah, with the AR.
Not a massive fan of it. Like, I mean, I liked the Pokemon Go because I think like it really does suit the environment of the game. Like that's exactly what the game and the TV show and everything was, is that they were traveling from place to place to find these Pokemon and get them and collect them all. So I feel like it works. Whereas Harry Potter is of that, like it's really just Hogwarts that we've all been associated with. Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, and like Diagon Alley and Central London and stuff. So it's kind of like I don't think it works as well. I don't think it drives you to go out and everything. Like I think Pokemon, they really hit the money there. Like they really got it right with the Pokemon Go game.
Well, the Pokemon Go game, I don't know if many people play it now, but now it's like totally fixed. When it first came out, the app crashed, didn't work. There was a lot of problems, and that drew a lot of people away. And people just stopped playing it. But now with all the updates they have, it's worth going into. But I think there's just so many inactive users now. Yeah. But the ones that still play it are still doing a ton. That's keeping that still going.
And all my friends still play it. All of my 28, 29, 30-year-old friends, they all play it still. Because we're just 90s kids, and we just freaking loved that game. So, or that TV show, everything. We just loved everything about it. So they still play it. So
I play it when I travel.
My crew in Ireland, keeping the whole company going.
Because where I live,
Oh,
there's not
really?
a lot of
Yeah.
Pokemon, but when I travel, I get way more. So it's not really fun to play where I live because there's just no Pokemon.
You can
That's how
also
I
get like
am.
different Pokemon by going to different countries. Like you didn't
Hmm.
know that, but like a friend of mine recently went on holiday to Japan and caught like really cool Pokemon. And he was like, "Man, there's so many cool Pokemon in Japan that we wouldn't be able to catch here or that we have never seen here." So
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. But there you go. I'm playing mobile games at the moment.
Oh,
That's
heck yeah.
my addiction.
Do you have any upcoming games that you're looking forward to playing?
No, not really. I mean, I really want to start getting into the BioShock
Yeah,
franchise and
dig into
series and
those.
actually playing them. Yeah. It's a
Hmm.
pity that I won't be able to stream them, but
So you're focused
I
more on
am
backlog at the moment.
yeah, at the moment. And then I think what I'm going to do on my Twitch is so we're doing the after hours streams with the Layers of Fear. We're probably going to do a stream at some point with two of the Irish replayers, one from Cork and one from Wexford as well. And we're going to do like a speed run of some of the Uncharted games or the Last of Us games, which would be so cool.
Nice.
Hmm.
And the other game that I'm going to start streaming and that I've never played before will be The Witcher 3.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh,
Good
I know.
luck
So
with
I've
that.
never played it. I don't know anything about it. So I'm super
Oh,
excited.
blind.
Yeah, blind playthrough altogether. So that should be starting next week, hopefully.
Cool, cool.
If you ever decide to 100% that game, you're already
Oh.
looking at over 100 hours.
Ugh.
I'm okay with not 100%.
Okay, just making sure.
We're not-
just to let you know what you're walking into.
We're not all you, Greg. We don't all need the platypuses.
I don't. Fine.
How about you, Greg? What are you playing?
Just platypuses. No, I'm kidding.
Playing platypus.
All the platypi. I have started Mad Max.
Ooh.
Don't know if I'm going to 100% it because there's a lot to do in that. But
Yeah.
I'm just going to play it to get it done and maybe go back to it down the road. I'm going to start doing that with a lot of these bigger open world games. I'm also going to try to start.
Just don't let your
Well,
nephew oversave your game like me.
I don't have a nephew, so I don't have to
Oh,
worry
you're
about
good
that.
then.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Still feel bad about that, but it happens. I think I started Red Faction a few months ago, the first one on PS2, so I'm gonna finish that because it's not a long game. A lot of the Red Faction games aren't that long, except for I think Gorilla because it's open world. And then I'm going to work on try to start Infamous up because
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, good game.
and I know Dan was talking about that in the chat like a few days ago about he
Yeah.
played the first couple. So I'm probably just going to do a playthrough of that and then decide if I want to ever go back to it again. But I
I was
don't
just
know.
looking
I
at
don't.
Second Son myself to play that at some point.
I have that. I have all of them except I think
Vikings.
First Light, and right now I think it's on sale for like $6 or something.
Ah,
There's like a big PS4 sale in the US. So,
ah.
but currently those are my games.
Ooh.
Dan,
Let's see.
what about you?
Let's see.
You playing anything at the moment?
I'm usually playing Borderlands 2 still, getting prepped and ready for the Borderlands 3 because that's
First,
going to
yeah.
be life after it comes out. Played a little bit Uncharted 4 recently with some friends. Had a good time going back to that. Haven't played that in a while. Doing the online survival mode.
Mm.
And I also
Sounds really
play...
cool. So I might have to hop in one day.
Yeah. You'll definitely need to join us. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I also played a little bit of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 for the Switch. I didn't get to play a lot of it, so it's early and hard to say much, but it is a good time. It's very much a gamer's game, very arcadey, quick, fast-paced, action gamey.
Yeah.
Pretty much get to play as your favorite Marvel superheroes, running around beating up
Sweet.
bad guys. Get to do some crazy over-the-top special moves. Like I said, I haven't been able to play it as much as I'd like to, so it's early for me to really give much of an opinion, but so far I'm having fun with it. Hopefully I get
Cool.
to put a little bit more time in it as we go. And
Sweet.
yep.
Just on a Marvel thing, I was not fortunate enough, unfortunately. What a sentence.
I think that's a double negative.
It was a double
Oh,
negative. I
man.
was not fortunate enough, unfortunately. I was not lucky, and I didn't have much time when we went to Manchester Comic Con on the Sunday. But they were doing sort of a live premiere of the Iron Man VR game.
Ooh, I heard that was really cool.
Looked absolutely badass, but the queue is so huge for this game. So I mean, if I was there for the 2 days, I would have definitely queued for that. I would have been there a couple hours, whatever it was, to queue for it. But jeepers, that game looked awesome, so cool. And they were also doing exclusive previews of Borderlands 3,
Nice.
Ooh.
which would have been so freaking cool, except again, there was long queues, and because of the timing and everything on just a Sunday, like I really wasn't able to go do that or go see it. Um, so if I do go back again, I'm gonna have a look at stuff that might be exclusive on the day, and maybe do the full weekend just to see, like, because that mustn't be a new feature. I'm sure they do that all the time, but they had a PlayStation VR setup, and there was probably like 6 people going at the same time. Like they had them in almost cubicles. And that game looks awesome. So I think in terms of games that I'm interested in coming out and upcoming games, that's definitely one of them.
You guys have a
Cannot wait for that.
VR?
I have the Vive.
How's that?
I wish I got the Oculus.
Really?
Yeah, I got the original Vive. It's not bad, and I thought I would use it for a bigger space, but I realized I don't have a bigger space. It's good for if you have a big space, but I should have waited another year or two because now they have like a wireless headset, and it's kind of
Yes,
weird
yeah, I
when
saw
you've got
that.
when you've got a wire strapped to the back of your head and you're
Mhm.
moving around and it easily gets detached. If you're not careful, if you get way too into the game, and I have low vault ceilings, so I've hit like I hit my TV once, I've hit my fan, I've hit my walls. I had to do a lot of paint touch-ups. Yeah, so
Just causing
even
all
when I
sorts of
do
destruction.
even when I do the boundary creation, it's still I kind of wish I waited. So, but I mean, I don't play it that much right now because there's not many games out right now that I could get into. I think Iron Man is only a PS4 VR though, isn't
It
it?
might
Believe
be.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, so I won't even be able to get to play it unless I get PlayStation VR, which I wouldn't mind getting because I mean, there's a lot of
So
good
cool.
PSVR games. The PSVR seems to be really good. So hopefully, if the PS5, you can play them over there. I'm
The
sure that.
only
Oh yeah, I'm sure
like
it will.
the only
Yeah,
thing that I would have an issue with in terms of the actual game, like the Iron Man game, would be because like I find VR is a bit nauseating. Like you can get seasick.
yeah,
Um,
and Vertigo.
so basically, I find I get a very seasick if there isn't any sort of gravity to the game. So, for example, in Until Dawn, the Ghost Train kind of ride, um, on VR, which is an amazing game, and I highly recommend it. I can't think of the actual name of it now.
Rush of Blood,
Rush of
I
Blood.
think.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm terrible with the names of things lately. I'm sorry. I'm tired.
we'll help you. Don't
So
worry.
thank you. But that game is just incredible. I've played it so many times, and it's so much fun. And it's because you're seated, like you can play the game standing up, or you can play the game actually seated, which is great. But there's a gravity to the game, so there's no risk really of the motion sickness other than the fact that you're on a roller coaster. Whereas I've also played a Star Wars demo, and obviously you're in space, so there's no gravity there, and I felt so sick. I think I played it for like a minute and I had to take it off because I felt so sick. So my issue with the Iron Man game is I am so into it and I'm so down because I love Iron Man. I'm kind of scared that when you're in the air, there's no real gravity to it. So if you're flying or if you're doing something like that could cause me to be sick, which is something I would like to see them tackle, I guess, to see if there's any.
I've heard some interviews and talks with the people working on the game talking about how that was one of the first things that they tried to tackle actually when you play the
Oh,
game.
okay,
So
good.
they had a discussion in an interview, I believe it was with IGN, where they talked about how they wanted to avoid just that. And people who have played the demo and experienced it said that it actually does a really good job of preventing you from getting vertigo. I forget exactly the details as to how, but I think it has something to do with the HUD and the display, how the display orientates you and keeps you from getting that like lost in space kind of feeling.
Cool.
So
Like that would be my
hopefully,
only concern, but yeah,
yeah, hopefully you'll get to play it and not have that problem when you get around to
hopefully.
it. I actually had the similar issue playing Sea of Thieves on the Xbox. When you're out to sea and you're on the ship, that has a very realistic motion.
Oh yeah.
To the way the camera bobs, and the first few times I played that game, it made me nauseous. You kind of have to get used to it. It's just like being on a real ship, actually.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we're going a little long on this episode, so it's probably a good time to wrap it up. We've pretty much covered everything.
Cool.
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah.
So
heck yeah. Let's I'm gonna throw a quick shout out to our own special episodes that Pagan's been working on, so everyone can stay tuned this week for those special episodes of the Replayer Podcast. As we mentioned before, it's where Pagan's gonna sit down with some of the biggest replayers in the community, the ones who also went to MCM, Manchester Comic-Con. Pagan has a little chat with them and their experiences, meeting each other for the first time, as well as Troy and Nolan. So you can be on the lookout to find those episodes on the Replayer Podcast YouTube channel. Those will be coming up soon. So just wanted to thank everybody for listening to the show. Thank my guest, Greg, or our guest, Greg, today. We're going to get more guests on the show as we go. All the replayers listening, let us know.
Let us know. DM us if you want to come on.
Yeah.
Or pop an email to thereplayerpodcast@gmail.com.
Absolutely. So thank you, Greg. You want to remind the peoples where we can find you?
Thank you as always. Yep. The Greg 007. It'll be in the description on Twitter. That's my usual go-to. I post random stuff there. So that's my active place.
Ooh, Pagan.
I am at Pagan_plays on Twitter and Twitch. I'm also on Insta if you want to find me there. It's the same moniker. So Pagan_plays.
Cool. And I, as usual, am Stark Evil Vash on most platforms. The only different one really is Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Starkey with a Y, Vash. And you can catch the Replayer Podcast on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud. We hope that everybody is enjoying this podcast, and we want to get as much feedback as possible. Like Pagan mentioned, you can always write us an email at the replayerpodcast@gmail.com. And with that, until next time, folks, say bye.
Oh, heck yeah. Bye.
Or heck yeah.
Bye.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Third game.
Cooper, you're on the freeway!